Programming! Gentlemen and ladies, it's showtime! Take one! Let's rock!
Are you the only one who knows of an impending apocalyptic event? Well, you shouldn't worry about that. You really need to get out more. Instead of stopping said villain from returning, just get 6 teenagers to do it. If a friend you just met tells you it's a good idea to jump off a cliff, you should totally do it, just like if he or she offers you cigarettes, drugs, or alcohol. It's completely fine for people to make ridiculous generalizations of certain species simply because one of them was a jerk. When a jackass picks on the elderly, don't sweat it. When they attack the cute one, though,
they must die.
It doesn't matter if the performance is free, the attendance optional, and everyone else seems to be enjoying themselves. If you don't like it, heckle and try to upstage the performer instead of just leaving. If they put you in your place, they're the ones in the wrong.
Foreigners are evil.
If you see a problem imminent that nobody else does, it's perfectly okay to not even bother informing anybody of it beforehand. Instead, start preparing to fix the resultant disaster yourself single-handedly, and you'll win praise and admiration from people who will completely ignore that you could have stopped this before anything went wrong. If you don't seem to be good at anything, go into management. Always stick with your traditional ways, even if those ways mean that you fail your annual task each and every time. Allowing 2 races to work at optimum efficiency while forcing a third one to ignore their natural talent is not racism, it's tradition. If your friend gets something you don't have, then stop hanging out with them for the rest of the series. If you let rivalry interfere with your performance in a race, you'll lose to the non-athletic nerd. Don't try to investigate things you don't understand. Instead, embrace ignorance and simply accept things the way they are. Never show off, unless you already do it constantly. Trying to help a friend who's in trouble is thinking less of them. Assume they can get out of the situation on their own. Ponies are better at solving their problems than humans are. Nearly coming close to manslaughter has no real repercussions and raises no security concerns. Everyone's too busy watching you pulling off a rain boom anyway. Harassing the guests and musicians is the best way to enliven a social event. If you're not enjoying a party, trashing it is the answer.
Let's have another! Take 2! Fight!
Your friends are worth fighting for, except when they're not. If you go insane over some silly detail, it's your friend's fault for not taking your baseless, self-imposed, and idiotic freakout seriously enough. It's perfectly fine to torment and vilify someone based on their appearance. They're the one that needs to learn the lesson. If you have a history of violence and treachery, it's everyone else's fault for not trusting you immediately. Having no social skills means that everyone can shun you and get away with it. If you openly express any amount of pride in your accomplishments, your friends are perfectly justified in staging a collaborative effort to publicly one-up you. If somebody mows your lawn for you and makes a silly comment, feel free to mock her mercilessly about the silly comment without thanking her for mowing your lawn. If you are attending a formal event and act like an obnoxious party crasher, or if you really are one, it's the fault of those snobby upper-crust people for not loosening up. Greed turns you into Godzilla. Be nice or the Wendigos will get you. If a friend does not want to talk about a touchy subject, the best thing to do is repeatedly nag her until she fesses up. Capitalism is evil! Stalking, harassment, and accidental vandalism will make you friends. Unfriendly people are really just hiding their inner pain. Pester them until they reveal it to you. Extreme doormats must remain passive and submissive. Any attempt to stand up for yourself will make you a total prick. Time travel is bad, confusing, and will ruin your happiness, so don't do it. Remember, it's perfectly okay to enjoy the pain and humiliation of others. Gossip is only a terrible crime when you're the one being gossiped about. Everything else is fair game. If your girlfriend has suddenly turned abusive, it's not her fault. She's been replaced by a doppelganger. Girls, if your brother is getting married and you don't like the bride, you have every right to call off the wedding. Only marry someone if you already know and love their younger sister. Defeat an army of love-eating monsters by finding your partner and loving him really hard.
Cut! Just perfect! Take 3! Fight!
Throwing your wife always works. Genocide solves everything. If there's too much stuff to do, don't clone yourself. Cloning is bad. If you're trying to distinguish a friend from a bunch of our clones, the best test is one your friend is naturally bad at and stands a real chance of failing. No possible way that could backfire. Don't ever take your kids to Equestria. Bullies are just covering up their own insecurities and should be treated with kindness, except when they shouldn't. Don't bother trying to improve yourself. You'll only turn evil. You can spend your money to buy victory. Torturing children, enslaving an entire town, and downright being mean is no big deal if you apologize afterward. Don't forget to pratfall on your way out! Don't get all grateful after someone saves your life, it's annoying. Don't bother saving other people's lives or they'll ruin yours. Ignore your assistant who is saying they need to leave you forever, even if you know you not needing them is their worst fear. Books are more important. Don't befriend John Delancey. If you actually expect money in return for watching over a pet and aren't just doing it out of the kindness of your heart, you're being a greedy, careless bastard. The universe hates you, even if you did a good thing and saved a lot of people. Of course you're frustrated that you weren't invited back to an empire you helped save from the clutches of evil, and one of your friends completely understands how you feel. You're still not going though, no one else cares. The best way to attract people to your town is to get a group of people from another town far away who've only visited once before to do it for you. If you're not sure how something works, the best way to find out is by ignoring vague warnings and using it. And if you can fix whatever problems your curiosity creates, your ingenuity will be rewarded, giving you even more power and more responsibility. Accidentally mind raping your friends is sure to work out in your favor. It is totally healthy to continue working at a job you thoroughly despise. It's not okay to mess with the lives of others, unless you're a god. Twilight is best pony. Don't touch best pony's things or you will be punished.
Let's go! Take 4! Let's rock!
Your friend is the only one who knows what your goal even looks like, has the knowledge and skills to fix the problem, wears a key to making your super weapon work, and can not only fly or teleport out of danger, but has more power than all of you combined? Never mind all those times you learned to stick together. Send her away because she's only a liability. It is always a good idea to wander around the ruins of a castle in the middle of the night, even when you've seen it is literally falling apart because there's little to no chance of something actually falling on and injuring or killing you. Similarly, upon discovering that it's actually littered with still functioning booby traps, it's probably still a good idea to keep exploring anyway. If you're lucky enough to know the people who once lived there and who know where all the traps are, how to avoid them, and may even be nice enough to provide a map, don't go and talk to them, just keep wandering around. It'll be fine. J.K. Rowling is secretly Indiana Jones. If you're being bullied over an especially sensitive topic, don't bother telling anyone about your bullies. Wait, didn't we cover this? If you use hairspray regularly, you'll go crazy. When an expert on farming and an expert on animals are having an argument about the destruction of a crop by animals, your best bet is to pick a third option that completely ignores and disregards their expertise. The animal rights activist knows absolutely nothing about farming, but her opinion on an infestation must be considered with equal weight to that of the farmer whose livelihood is directly threatened. Applejack is boring and Fluttershy is cute. That means Fluttershy was completely right and Applejack was being sadistic. Even high-ranking government officials can't flag down a cab in New York, so don't feel bad. If you start to miss being part of a family, don't bother trying to contact your own family again. Try to join your friend's family. Family members stick together and give each other the help they need, unless an elderly relative is an obvious hoarder living in squalor. In that case, who cares? It's not your problem. Remember, kids, if you're faced with a difficult decision between supporting your friends and following your dreams, don't ask your friends for advice or support. They will only judge you. When your friend comes to you with a difficult decision, tell her that you refuse to help her decide, but then spend the rest of the day guilt-tripping her, glaring at her, and needling her until she does what you want, even, or especially, if it's not in her best interest to do so. No one will mind if you lip-sync during a performance, so go ahead. Pointing out your friend's greatest fears when they're obviously on the verge of crying isn't rubbing salt in their wounds. It's helping them get over their fears and a mark of good friendship. If a friend is suffering from a very obvious and crippling mental illness, the best thing to do is just tell them to knock that crap off. Expect absolute perfection from beginning level students within 2 weeks. Merely marginal improvement is proof that they just don't care. If other people's laziness means that you never see your wife and child again, it's your fault for getting mad at the selfish little bastards. Doing something dangerous and life-threatening is a great way to make an overbearing sibling or parental figure give you more freedom. It's okay to leave makeup around a 5-year-old with absolutely no supervision. A demigoddess who can evade your dreams at will, has no qualms about breaking into closed venues, and has a history of treason is clearly one who can be trusted. The placebo effect doesn't exist. Neither do psychosomatic ailments. Self-confidence inevitably leads to suicidally foolhardy actions. Don't encourage it. Crush it. You should never sell any of your old possessions that you never use anymore. They all have too many memories attached to them, so whether or not you have enough space for them, you should hoard them. No rare collectible is worth selling your friend into slavery for. Collecting things inevitably leads to selling people into slavery. When someone tries to sell you into slavery, go along with it, otherwise you're just not a good friend. Don't help people. Being made a princess but having your only job be waving to crowds is just terrible. You and your friends are better than literally everyone else combined. Never ever think of obvious solutions to your problems. Instead, keep everything secretive and everything will hopefully go fine. Don't cross best pony or she'll kill you. If you're a girl, your sexuality is evil and must be purged with the purifying light of horse Jesus.
Nobody blink! Take 5! Now!
When given vague instructions from an unknown source to go to an unknown land for unknown reasons, you should totally do it right away with no planning, reinforcements, or even telling anyone where you're going. What could possibly go wrong? Attempts at social equality are always evil and will always fail. Long live capitalism! If you hate yourself for being different from others, then something is mentally wrong with you. You're crazy if you refuse to listen to annoying speeches about being unique. It's perfectly normal to be upset when you move from a home the size of an apartment into a mansion. It's wrong to cast your friends aside because they do or don't have something that you do or don't have, even though you've totally done it before and never so much as thought twice about it. Don't worry, prepubescent girls, even though you'll be stuck with the body you get when you hit puberty, your family and friends will still love you no matter what size your boobs are when they grow in. The rest of society, on the other hand, Once again, we learn that causing mass destruction and endangering an entire town's way of life for selfish or frivolous reasons will lead to absolutely no repercussions provided it was an honest mistake and you learn your lesson. Your pet going to sleep for a few months is a perfectly legitimate reason to commit eco-terrorism. Trying to prevent winter is forgivable, and you'll be seen as sympathetic if you do so. Trying to create the night that never ends, on the other hand, is evil and will get you banished to the moon. This is because dark is evil, obviously. Training doesn't matter for crud. Destiny will let you stumble rump backwards into being the best there is, even if it's something you don't necessarily want to do. Take what wanted criminals say completely at face value. It's not like a wanted criminal accused of repeated and destructive crimes would ever try to fabricate his story to sound justified in his actions, or like a victim of circumstance, or outright lie to sound innocent. You will accept your place in life, be it good, bad, wanted, or not, and it is both a wrong and pointless endeavor to strive for anything else. Want to liven up an event you find boring? Do you exercise your power as an undisputed ruler and event organizer, close friends with one of your other event organizers, and an incredibly popular person to change things to your liking? Nope. Invite a barely reformed criminal who has nearly killed people on multiple occasions even after his supposed reformation. Passive aggressiveness for the win! If you get angry or jealous because your close friend snubbed you for someone else without telling you, obviously you're in the wrong. When someone trashes an event for selfish reasons, it's wrong and he or she deserves to be chewed out for it. When you or one of your friends do it, it's good because that event was boring anyway. Other races have no hope of flourishing on their own and need the intervention from a more civilized group to understand basics like friendship and generosity. If a disaster or dangerous event is happening in the very heart of town, an appropriate response is to ignore it. Evacuation, coming to aid of others, or even running for cover are overrated anyways. If you have a cool car, pedestrians yield to you and the rules of the road no longer apply. Bad things will happen as a direct result of you trying to the best of your abilities to properly and completely do the job that was given to you. However, all those times you abuse the perks of your job will cause no repercussions. Children can be expected to fend for themselves when trapped in a dangerous body of water. Even if you can fly and retrieve them from a distance, leave them to their own devices and find something else to do. When doing your job causes problems for others, you owe them an apology, while the person who gave you the job in the first place takes no responsibility. Even if you're practically the adopted son of someone famous, you deserve none of their perks. It doesn't matter how many lives you've saved, if you're not a princess, you will always be obscure. No matter how much damage your actions have caused, simply saying "I'm sorry" is enough to fully absolve you of all guilt. Even if you destroy the site of an important event and demolish an important monument, a simple apology and a feeble attempt to repair the damage are enough to earn everyone's forgiveness. The person in charge of you, who did little at most, will be given all the credit for all the hard work you did to accomplish a task. If you're lucky, you might be offhandedly mentioned as one of the friends, while the boss praises the one who was in charge of you. Even though a person is violent, aggressive, selfish, and destructive, and even though there is honestly nothing positive, either physical or emotional, that they're offering you, you should still bend over backwards to earn their friendship. Because, friendship is magic, I guess. You should totally let friends travel alone to areas where nobody has ever returned alive. They'll be totally fine. If you're being repeatedly abused by someone, it's your fault for not being perfect, not their fault for being an abusive prick. Remember, ladies, he only hits you because you make him. People who are too busy studying to spend time with friends are always antisocial and hurt by bad experiences in the past. They are never too busy studying due to school, college, university, work, personal research, or having big plans for the future. Should you meet such a person, bug the hell out of them until they crumble, throw their studies out the window, and play kickball with you. Bonus points if you've never had to worry about such things because you've been backed by the government your whole life rather than have to worry about a career and thus have no clue how difficult it can be to get a job. You can leave your home unattended for what must have amounted to a couple of years without fear of it being broken into, robbed, or ransacked for fun. Having to stop the apocalypse is no good reason not to attend a party. You must attend every single party or social event you're invited to, or else you'll ruin someone's life. No, apparently they do not. They dream of things that would give Freud an aneurysm, but no magic sheep. People with depression can get over it by making the decision to get over it. Someone who cross-dresses is automatically a trans person, even those who have a valid reason to cross-dress that has nothing to do with their gender identity. Every bully ever comes from a harsh upbringing and deserves your patience and understanding, and you're a terrible person for not giving either, no matter how shabbily they treated you in the past. When visiting someplace with different traditions than yours, don't dare even mention your own traditions. You'll ruin everything if you don't completely conform. Wars can be ended by making both sides see how the fighting is affecting the animals. Quick, somebody show this episode in Syria! Losing a single friend justifies ruining the lives of countless others as long as you learn your lesson for it. Psychotic dictators just need a pat on the back and some advice to change their lives around. The entirety of the Holocaust could have been prevented if someone just had the tact and good graces to give Adolf Hitler a bro hug and say, there. Take time to learn about someone who is opposed to you so you can understand their motives. Maybe there is more to them than merely just being evil, and, with some kindness and understanding, can be swayed to a better path. That is, if they're the same race as you, related to a friend of yours, or of some use to you. The rest can enjoy their exile, high-speed crash landing, or straight up death. Getting given exactly what you want counts as atoning for all the terrible things you've done in life. Princess Twilight says so. Capitalism and technological advancement are the single most evil things in the world, even more evil than the ruthless dictator who presses innocent civilians into a blood-soaked war with mind-controlling elements, and the giant who sucks life out of everyone and uses their life energy to blow everything up for kicks. Embrace stagnation and ignorance, for it is the one true path of the Lord. Even if you're a selfish and heinous monster, redemption is the responsibility of others, not you. You can expect to be forgiven in an instant, even by people who were directly and indirectly harmed for years by your self-serving actions, and even those you went out of your way to directly target. All you have to do is stop being a dick, say, "We're cool," and look extra cute in your freeze frame jump. Take what people say completely at face value, even when someone whose characterization is defined by manipulation, lying, and self-justification with an extra dose of the end justifies the means. In other words, a sociopath. You can believe them when they say, okay, I'm sorry, I'm a good guy now. It's okay for government officials to cheat the legal system and let criminals go scot-free. That's totally not a gross misuse of power and authority or anything like that, because a fair and unbiased trial doesn't mean jack when somebody with the means to tear up a criminal record takes an unbiased interest in someone. Ponies are, by default, pure and good and only ever act evil when driven that way by external factors. Thus, they deserve to be immediately forgiven when these unfair external factors are addressed. Everything else is by default evil and monstrous, unless befriended by ponies, taught how to act by ponies, or raised by ponies, and had better keep their asses on the straight and narrow if they want to stay friends with the pony master race. Thus, it's perfectly justified to make sweeping judgments of others based purely on their race. When you lose something, lash out at as many people as possible until it's given back to you to make you stop. Making friends and being successful has absolutely nothing to do with being kind, decent, humble, or even interesting. In fact, you can be an absolutely atrocious monster. Why? Because it's all about power. It trumps everything. Just show someone you're too powerful to ignore and bam, you'll get hordes of friends. It doesn't matter how evil your deeds were. Just ask Discord, Sunset Shimmer, and now Starlight Glimmer about all the friends they have, or look at Trixie all alone in the corner and ask how her friendless life and likely still destroyed career is doing. Equestria's entire foreign policy is suck up to everyone who has the power to obliterate your entire civilization. Science bad! Repent and pledge your life to horse Jesus!
Just one more! Take 6! Let's rock!
Babies will ruin your life and could potentially bring down civilization. You won't be happy until you renew your friendship with that kid who abandoned you back in kindergarten. Trust the perfect stranger who openly admitted his inability and lack of confidence in himself with performing a potentially dangerous magical equivalent of an appendectomy on your newborn child, on the recommendation of the recently reformed dangerous criminal. This is parenting at its finest and not criminal negligence. Name your children after what are or what will become horrifying historic events. It'll make for a great conversation piece when the child gets older, most certainly won't reopen old wounds, and Princess Flurry Heart will look so cute playing with Prince Spanish Inquisition Soul and Duchess Black Plague Belle. When trying to accomplish something, you should trust the advice of the overly pushy and nosy stranger who, along with her two friends, had more difficulty accomplishing the same thing than anyone else in their age group to the point that it was practically a disability. When you accept someone's apology for having done something wrong, don't actually mean it until they prove themselves to you. Your friends and family are only allowed to be friends with people you approve of. Otherwise, do what you can to spoil the friendship and keep your friend all to yourself regardless of how many feelings you hurt in the process. The same goes for people your friends and family love and wish to marry. When you decide to trust someone who is potentially an untrustworthy and dangerous person, everyone has to stick by it whether they like it or not and accept them as a friend. When one of your friends decides to trust somebody who is potentially an untrustworthy and dangerous person, oppose it with all your might. It's all about you and your feelings after all. Nobody else matters. Having a bad go? People who allegedly made peace with you have decided you're still a bad guy? Getting glares from everyone? Your friendship has taken a rocky turn? Don't tough it out and try to make things right. Attempt suicide. That'll fix everything. If you fail, you'll garner pity and everyone will love you again. And if you succeed, that'll teach them all. It's win-win. Hold grudges unless you have a pragmatic reason to do otherwise. If someone has nothing to offer you, there's no reason to actually forgive them. It's not like they're a person with feelings and emotions just like you or anything like that. You should just embrace any cruel nickname you're given and be happy to be hazed. You should be elated to join a team of people who are childish, backstabbing creeps who are laughably bad at their job. When all else fails, just do yet another Christmas Carol. It's the exact same story we've seen like 100 times, so nobody will mind if you milk that giant goat one more time, even in May. The world would literally end if people stopped celebrating Christmas, so buy our toys. A nickname that calls out someone's accident is charming, a sign of camaraderie, and should be embraced. A comment that calls out someone's blatant intentional hypocrisy is rude and should be stifled. Once again, we learn that the only true reason to make friends, love one another, or show empathy to your brethren is literally to give you the power to destroy or repel your enemies. Friendship is literally magic after all. Why else should you be interested in it? You are not hypocritical for telling your lazy brother to get a job even when your job basically amounts to crazy cat lady with an expanded portfolio. Critics are jerks and totally at fault, not the dumbasses who take their critiques as gospel truth instead of forming their own opinions. Taking business advice from two random strangers with little to no business sense and absolutely zero experience or knowledge of the food industry or running a restaurant who got involved because a magic coffee table told them to will end in success. The only way to enjoy a story is if it's actually true. Convince your heavily competitive friend to stop doing something by first challenging them to do it better and then besting them at it. This works every time. Giving someone a free cake is a mean-spirited prank, not a harmless one that's actually quite generous and nice because it involves giving them a free cake. Only pranksters who are thoughtless of other people's feelings deserve to be told off and set right. People who are thoughtless of other people's feelings because of ignorance, putting their own feelings first, or just for the fun of it are quirky and charming. When someone or something is chasing you because you have in your possession something that is unimportant and doesn't even belong to you, take it with you, effectively making yourself their target rather than leaving it behind so you won't be pursued. Someone is a filthy racist? Just sing a quick little song and they'll instantly forget their racist tendency. Befriending someone is as easy as robotically declaring, "I am your friend now." Bzzz. Engage friendshipping. Yet again, we learn that the only thing that determines if someone is worthy of redemption is if they've never had a friend but want one. Absolutely nothing else matters from their personality to past deeds done. When the first thing you do with your brand new friend is completely and utterly betray him when he needs you most, you can still count on him when you need him if you give a feeble apology and a reminder that the two of you are friends. Drag your new friend into an area where everyone hates him. What could possibly go wrong? Disregard the moral of the first episode. Now a day spent hiding indoors and playing games is better than a day spent leaving the house and making new friends. This is still true even if someone offers to take you there and pay for everything. Getting so carried away during a game that you
you actually put your new friends in physical harm up to the point that they could actually be killed will guarantee they have a fun time and want to keep you around, not make them so angry and wary of you that they file a restraining order or something. If you're coaching a small team that doesn't feel like competing just so you can live vicariously through their accomplishments and boost your ego, you can always somehow manipulate them into doing it anyway. Once again, we learned that if you're a main character, you can literally do anything to anyone or anything and get off completely scot-free if you give a feeble apology. Even if what you did was a blatant relapse into crimes you did that already would have earned you a one-way trip to the moon if you weren't cute and marketable and with a sob backstory. Successful mediation is mostly a matter of finding a scapegoat. Forgiveness is instantaneous. Nobody ever needs time to cool off. A changeling can change was meant literally. A different race can only be perceived as good if they change to look more aesthetically pleasing to you. Ugly people never win, that's the moral of the story. Let the weakened criminal who has just declared her burning intent to kill you and everyone you hold dear just fly lazily away over the horizon. Never mind the fact that you have the world's fastest flyer, a handful of near-physical gods capable of grabbing and moving stuff with their minds, two of whom have literal immobilization spells in their arsenal, just standing there wishing they had hands and pockets to thrust the former into the latter, an actual physical god who can warp reality with a finger snap, the entire reformed changeling army, and whatever the heck the newly transformed King Thorax is capable of. It's not like the last time you were too busy patting each other on the withers and jerking around with a wedding allowed her to fortify herself and come back worse than ever and achieved a near-villain victory. Well, what are the odds of that happening a third time?
Cut! Aw, come on! Okay, nothing left to see here. Let's get a round of applause for our contestants. Try again, kid.